Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 16th episode of the Leadership Lounge. My name is Tasneem Ali, and I'm joined by my two peers, Alison and Sophia, and all three of us support emerging leaders or leaders who are established leaders but want to increase their effectiveness at workplace. So, if you've been following us and watching our videos, we've been talking quite a bit around the Great Resignation. The shift towards employee well-being and what employees want from the workplace. We also covered quiet quitting, and that was an interesting topic. And I think today we're going to talk about something which is interesting but not new, and the concept of quiet firing. Now, before I go into the definition of it, just to highlight that this particular topic is not something new. It's been present in the workplace for a very, very long time. It's just been given a new term. So what is quiet firing? Essentially, it is treating your employees or your staff in a way that basically forces them to leave on their own accord rather than you firing them. So it is a behavior of your manager or the leadership team that subtly pushes you out. Now, one of the main reasons that people would do it is that they're afraid to give constructive feedback, and we'll probably go into it in a lot more detail. The company itself doesn't want to pay severance, unemployment, or is afraid of litigation charges. So, that's pretty much it in terms of what does this term mean. But now let's dive into it and understand whether it is the right thing to do or perhaps not so right. So, Sophia, what do you think?
I know the answer. Well, I'm not so sure I can find a lot of positive sides of this quiet quitting, quiet firing. But we can understand what's going on behind, maybe that exactly what you were saying, that it's probably that management or the employer don't dare to deal with the fact that they want somebody out. Maybe it is somebody that has been in the company for a very long time, who is not as productive as they wish that person to be. There's something that is not so urgent, so it's not this downsizing due to financial matters so that you can blame something external, but you're really having a problem with that employee. So trying to freeze that person out. So I get really bad, I feel it's bullying. It's really freezing somebody out. It's toxic, but that's what's happening with a person who is the employee, right? Like, what's going on? Why do I not get any responsibilities anymore? Nobody's talking to me. They don't invest in me anymore. But for everyone else around as well, even for the manager, it is not the environment that you want to stay in for a very long time. What's actually happening in the team when you are practicing this on one or more of your employees, hoping that they are going to leave because you think that you will be better off if they are leaving. It's like any relationship that you want to finalize. I mean, just deal with it instead of waiting for the other person to leave. I don't know. What are you feeling, Alison?
Yeah, I mean, you used the word toxic, and for me, this brings up massive feelings of toxicity. Like, I am abundantly clear in my mind that, if as a manager, if you're doing this with the intention of freezing someone out, you have built a toxic environment for that employee and for the team around them, because, if you're giving that person less, you're giving more work to the people in the team. They will see what's happening. This person hasn't been invited to meetings, or, they're getting the easy work or whatever. People will see it, and, that will affect them. And, you as a manager are building this toxic work environment. That is career sabotage for the person that you are doing this to. And, they will, if they have any self-awareness, they will know exactly what is going on, and that can create anxiety for them. That can create self-doubt and a crisis of confidence, and that will just spiral downwards, and it's going to be hard for them to shake off. You know, it can
Can I
really
throw in a question there?
Yeah.
Do you think, for both of you, like, do you think it's always conscious from
So
the manager's point of view?
on the manager. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not, I would say. So sometimes you might have an employee that, you know, they just can't handle every single thing that you'd love them to be doing. And that's okay. And it's okay to give them a little bit less work. It's not ideal, but, you know, that's what sometimes we have to do. I think it's the intention behind it. Like, are you giving them less work just to pee them off and get them out of here because you're too scared to have a conversation with them? What's the intent behind what you're doing? Tasneem, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that, see, generally when something is not working out between two people, there's always a reason. Either you're not performing well, you're not right fit as a culture for the organization, or personally you don't get along. And as much as we say that, oh, it's all professional, no, it isn't. We're people, and, you know, there are likes and dislikes and things that piss us off and things that don't. And I think that, yes, even if it doesn't start as intentional, it will eventually become intentional. And it really will take somebody who has zero self-awareness to not notice what they have been doing. So there will come a point when you will know. You may choose not to accept, but you are in that pattern. And I think what came up for me, as Alison, when you were talking about, is only, I think behavior like this can only exist in an organization where there are very weak HR processes in place. Now, when there are clear expectations of you as a manager or a leader in an organization of how you're supposed to behave and treat your employees, and there's a strong HR who will support you in managing employees who are either not fit for the culture or not performing well, this behavior will not be tolerated. And if you're somebody who's afraid of giving constructive feedback, then there's some work that you need to do on yourself, right? So I was reading an article, and on that it said that presenteeism, that's a problem. Everyone's treating this as a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. The organizations post-COVID world have become very clear on what kind of culture they want to create. Some are completely fine with fully remote. Some are asking the employee to be back 5 days a week. And then there's some who are hybrid, but they're enforcing that hybrid culture. And if you don't think that this is right for you anymore, then, you know, the onus is on you to go find another organization rather than, you know, not perform or complain about how the culture is not the right fit. So going back to the quiet firing bit, if you're a manager and you want your employees to come in because that's what the organization wants you to do, then have that open conversation. You know, give the person the respect that they deserve to have that open conversation and say, here are the expectations, here's how you're not meeting them. And let's see what we can do and how we can support you, because this is the direction that we're going in. This is the way the team needs to perform, rather than basically hide behind the fact that I'm going to give them less work, not give them recognition, not give them raise, and hopefully they'll eventually leave. That's just a wrong behavior. That's toxic.
Yeah. So getting back to, I mean, how important it is that we are having clear communication in a company, right? In any situation where you are dealing with other people, you need to work on the communication, because otherwise you might end up in this. It's passive aggressivity, being passive aggressive, not deciding things about a person when that person is not in the room and hoping that they will maybe get it. All of these things are toxic for you, for the other person, and for everyone around you. No one will be safe in an environment where toxic, in a toxic environment. So work on the communication. That is the only thing that you need to deal with. And if you can handle that, you won't face this quiet quitting or quiet firing.
Yeah, that's key. Communication. Like, it shouldn't come as a real surprise for this person that they're not quite up to the standards that you want. Like, you should be having this conversation with them. No one is, very few people are born being able to have difficult conversations with other people and saying, you know, you're not living up to these expectations. but, it needs to be done so that it's not a surprise, so they do know what is required of them. And, you should be able, as Tasneem was saying, you should be able to have a reliance on the HR in your company to help you have these conversations, and then to take it to the next level, some sort of performance management program with your HR team. Because then if a worker is told, you're being performance managed, that's red flags. That should be red flags to the person. It shouldn't come as a massive surprise. And, they will either leave of their own accord because they realize that, this isn't working for me. What they want from me, that's not me. I don't want to become this. I don't want to do this. So I'm going to leave. They might stay and say, oh my goodness, I love this company and I want to do my best. It's like, help me, help me, help me. And this is a great time for coaching as well. It's not so often that people are performance managed with a coach. Coaches usually take people from good to great, but coaches do help with performance management because they do want to go to great. Or otherwise, if it's still not working out after a while, you should be able to rely on your HR team to help you legally manage this person out of the company with full disclosure and full transparency, and say, this is why this is happening. That in an ideal world, this communication would be working exactly like this. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that. I wonder how many people really fall back on making decisions based on values, so company values. And in a matter like this, as you said, right? I mean, it's dealing with the situation with integrity, having honesty or integrity or whatever the word can be as part of company values is great, but how are you really enforcing it? And in a situation like this, where the employee is not doing as well, what exactly are you doing to ensure that you're living up to that value? And are you practicing, is every person in the organization practicing with that value in mind?
Yeah, that's about integrity. Absolutely. And communication. Yeah. I mean, you never know why someone is underperforming. It could be that, they're not well, either mentally or physically. It could be that someone in their family isn't well. It could be that they just don't understand what's going on, or there's just too much overwhelm in what's going on with them at the moment. There's all kinds of reasons that people underperform. So that's why this communication is absolutely so crucial. Yeah. I think we could go on all day. Guys, did you have anything else that you want to add before we wrap this one up?
No, I think, communicate, work on that, because quiet quitting, quiet firing, it's not good for anyone, really.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I think it's toxic. I will put my flag in the ground and say it's toxic. All right. With that, we will say thank you to everybody for joining us for this week's Leadership Lounge. Such an interesting topic, and it does sort of bring up a lot of emotions. And it is difficult if you're experiencing this from your manager, or if you're actually doing this to somebody in your team. So there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. But we would love to hear from you. So wherever you're watching this video, please leave us some comments down below. And of course, subscribe as well, so you can be updated whenever we post these Leadership Lounge videos. So with that, we'll say thank you very much, and we will see you next time on the Leadership Lounge.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.